Today we're going to be doing a top shot splicing knot. This is predominantly used on game fishing setups where we're splicing in our monofilament fishing line into our Power Pro hollow ace braid. Alright, let's get started. So we're going to put this rod in our rod holder over here. It's a little bit out of the way. The tools that we're going to need for this is a razor blade, good pair of braid cutters, a PR bobbin, a lighter, and then a splicing needle that's going to match our monofilament. Right, to start the splice, we need to insert the mono into our hollow splicing needle. And to do this, what we need to do is we put a taper on the end of the mono, and then we can force the braid into the needle. I like to have the smallest possible needle I can, and I actually force that taper cut into it. It won't go all the way into the needle, but what that does is it makes it a really smooth transition. So that means I can have the smallest possible needle. We can now insert the needle into our hollow braid, and to do this with this type of knot that we're doing, we start about 80 centimeters in. So we have an 80 centimeter tag line on our hollow braid, and that's where we can actually start the first transition of putting our needle inside the Power Pro hollow ace. So once we've inserted the needle, we're going to push that needle up inside the Power Pro hollow ace for 2 meters. So we want to have that mono up inside the Power Pro hollow ace for 2 meters. So it's a 2 meter long splice. So we just carefully pull the braid over the needle, not forcing the needle into the braid. It seems to be the secret to getting a nice sort of even, you know, when you splice on pushing it up there, and so it doesn't damage the braid at all. So just gently pulling the braid over top of the needle, and then pulling it back down, nice and carefully, so we don't disrupt or pull the mono out of the needle. Great thing about the Power Pro hollow ace is that the makeup of it's really, really easy to splice. It's got sort of almost like a waxy layer, and it holds its shape a lot easier, making splicing a lot easier as well. There you go. So once you get it through to 2 meters, you can then pull the needle out, pull the needle off the mono, and you just push that Power Pro hollow ace over top of it, flatten that all out, and that's the transition there with your mono inside the Power Pro hollow ace. You can now get your fingers and pull the braid back down nice and tight over top. So now we've got our mono is up 2 meters inside our Power Pro hollow ace. So we now need to whip up the end to prevent the hollow braid moving over top of the mono. So we have this 80 centimeter tag end that we're going to whip up over top of this to prevent our splice moving and making it all secure. I like to wind the line back onto the reel so it's actually something firm to work with, and that keeps the line nice and tight. To start this whipping at the end of the braid, we use the tag end and we make 1/2 inch over the mono line, and what this does is this just locks it off and prevents it slipping. So to do the whipping on the end, we use the Shimano PR bobbin. It makes a really nice job and gets it up nice and tight, and actually makes it almost bite into the mono, making for a very secure connection. So we just thread the tag end of the Power Pro hollow ace into the bobbin. The great thing about this, the Shimano PR bobbin, is it has the O-rings which grip onto the line, and it has a drag setting on the side of it, so you can control how much pressure you're putting on the bobbin to ensure that you get the tightest whipping that you can. So we wind up to about 50 millimeters, and then we go a loose wind back down over top of where the Power Pro hollow ace is on top of the mono, and then this is how we start our splice, by just getting it started, gripping it with your finger, and then working it all the way back down over top of the loose winds, and then all the way back down over the monofilament. Now we're going back down over the mono. I like to make it about 80 mils long, this knot, and you can see there how tight it is, and then it's also very, very tight coming back down over the mono, so there's no way that that splice can now slip. It's nice and streamlined and very, very, very secure. And to finish this off, I pull a little bit of extra line off our spool. We can then put it over top and do another 1/2 inch to lock it off. And then we're going to do an alternate 1/2 inch. We're going to come in from underneath with the spool. The PR bobbin spool still attached. And then we're going to pull that nice and tight as well. A bit of a pull there so it's all locked off. The great thing is to keep the tag end actually on the PR bobbin, because it works as a tensioner. You can actually hold it. It makes it a lot easier. You can get more tension. We're now going to use the finishing knot to finish this off, so we know that line isn't going to come undone. So what we do is put it over top of the monofilament. We're then going to wrap it around 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to pull it up, and then we're going to carefully get that the braided tag line there and wind it back over itself. And as we're winding it back over itself, it's unraveling at this other end, so it's sort of going, basically forming a nice loop over itself for this finishing knot over there. And then we can just pull that tag end through, put our fingers around there, and then put a lot of tension on there and pull it up nice and tight. And cut the tag end off, and then I like to carefully just put a little bit of slack line through there so we can fold that over, so we can keep the mono and the braid away from the flame. And carefully burn the tag end and give it a bit of a push there so it mushrooms up around the braid. So there you go, that's the Top Shot splicing knot. We've spliced it 2 meters inside the Power Pro hollow ace, and we've got a really nice smooth transition at the end there, which we've used the tag line of the Power Pro hollow ace to whip it up. It can't come undone, and like I say, it's a very nice smooth transition going on and off the reel. Super strong. There you go, Top Shot splicing knot.